Hey everybody, Speedy back. I made a post on YouTube kind of making people aware that I was going through a medical crisis. I was going to keep it private, but part of what Saga 2 was demonstrating is the environment I work in. I'm on temporary medical leave because of the medical crisis, which I'm resolving as we speak. Instead of keeping it private, however, I'm sharing this because it's part of my journey. It's a part of this saga. I got to a point where I had spent a year and a half working a full time night job and full time building my studio so that I could get it open. I got to the goal of getting it opened and productive, but the battleground, and the reason in the previous two videos I mentioned be careful what you name things, and how I named my initial studio vlog The Odyssey in honor of a very important piece of literature to me. I did it with intent. I knew I was going on my hero's journey, completely aware of all the possibilities, including this crisis. So, to put my story and the Odyssey into context, I'm now at Troy and I'm at war. War wounds. Now, you can either approach that situation with brute aggression, or you can approach it as Odysseus did, which is built on the trinity of body, mind, and soul. So he still fought like a warrior, but he thought. He was strategic. And he put his real heart and soul into what he was doing and believing in himself. So the reason I decided not to keep my health issue private was because this is just the nature of things, and the work environment I'm in is exactly the example of what I'm about to get into. There's a very toxic side to it. So I'm naming it instead of hiding it, because hiding it gives power to the wrong people. There are liars in life. There are liars in my environment. I do my best to go along to get along, but I keep my distance and a minimal connection to them as best I can. Now, the stress of dealing with face dancers is what I like to call them. There are people who live in this fakeness to get by. I'm not one of those. I'm authentic. I will be me 100% of the time, and you can take it or leave it. That's the kind of human I am, and that's not going to change. Now, to address the medical crisis, I was diagnosed with RA when I was in my 20s. I don't look at it as a setback. I don't see it as a crutch, and I am in no means looking for sympathy. I'm not built that way. There are a lot of people in my environment that's their entire universe, constantly looking for pity. That's not my game. That's not my thing. I take setbacks and I take challenges as a means for growth. I accept the negatives that come with having that kind of condition, but I learn and gain from that kind of chronic illness. Now, early on, I learned that a lot of it was something that could drain my energy. So I went on the journey to learn the dietary and you could say physical things that you can do to make sure that it doesn't drain you. And I successfully navigated establishing a means to manage it. But like with anything you're managing, when you get overloaded by a lot of negative external things from the outside that you just can't alchemize fast enough to prevent them from having an effect on you. And then also couple that with the physical challenge of building a studio and working a full time job. We were at a point at work where we were dusting and cleaning and putting a lot of debris into the air. This caused me to get a respiratory issue that triggered a very extreme, very rare for me, but very extreme RA flare. And anybody who has it, like acute as I do, understands that there's certain climatic things or just immuno weaknesses that can cause your feet and hands to swell. That swelling does damage to your joints, and it can just literally make you incapable of moving. I had one of those events at the tail end of my work week. In the last 2 hours too, I almost made it, y'all. But it's actually a good thing that I didn't. It's a good thing that it happened. I was beyond the point where I was exhausting myself doing 2 things because having built the studio, I could just enjoy operating it. But the work aspect became overwhelming. The stress, I couldn't alchemize it fast enough to keep it from having an impact on me. Then I got that respiratory issue and had a super flare. So what it actually did is not a negative. It forced me to put my focus back on managing it. So on Friday, I came out of remission, which I had largely been in. About 8 months ago, I had gone through treatment to get it back under control, and I was doing that just fine while working and operating the studio. But the stress of being around a very toxic, backstabby kind of environment, well, and then them dusting up all of this debris into the air and me being on equipment where I had to get up there in that dusted debris, it caught me. And I don't hold it against my environment. Environments are going to be what they are. You need to adapt to them. Um, Definitely caught me a little off guard, but I mean, I'm dealing with it. I'm going back through the system, and going back into treatment to get it back managed again so I can go back to work because, yes, believe it or not, I intend to continue on my journey of working my night job and finally enjoying the studio instead of building it. There will be still some construction involved because there's a lot more to the studio than I've actually put out there so far. I've made my videos about the journey because I want to share with everybody the lessons that I've learned on this journey, on my hero's journey, if you will, some very valuable ones. One of the core things that RA taught me very early on was that in your youth, you kind of in your narcissistic phase, and you need to be in that, honestly. It's kind of part of where you gain some of your confidence when you're younger. And a lot of that is very superficial, surface level kind of confidence, your physical appearance. So while I do maintain and take care of my physical appearance, it helped me move beyond my early age narcissism. And as I said, that's necessary when you're young and building your confidence in yourself. You shouldn't stay in the energy of a narcissist because that's a very negative persona type. But, in your early years, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, um, you're learning to be confident in yourself, and your appearance is a part of building your confidence. So you got to love yourself. You got to learn how to love yourself the correct way. And so narcissism is not always clinical or negative necessarily. It's a phase. For me, I was pushed out of that phase at a really young age, which was probably a really good thing because I think a lot of people either end up in it too long and it becomes a part of their identity, or they stay in it and become true narcissists, which is a very negative life path. I'm not, and I'm not vain. And part of like losing that aspect was that suddenly I had these skin platins, is what they're called, um, on me. And initially, it definitely hurt my confidence. It made me want to hide it from other people, but it also helped me realize I don't need to hide. I don't need to hide. If people can't take the time to talk to you and find out what they're seeing and they just pass judgment on sight alone, you don't need those kind of people in your life anyway. And so, in a strange way, it's a great filter, you know. And a very important part of the hero's journey is knowing who's real in your life and who's fake. And a crisis will show you very quickly who the hangers on, who the wannabes are from the real ones. The real ones, they'll be there for you, crisis or no crisis, because they're genuine and they enjoy being around you. This is valuable. You see, when you're getting ready to top the mountain and stand on the summit, there's always that massive crisis right before you reach the summit to test you, to see if you're worthy, to check your ego, but also to filter out the people that should not be up there on the summit with you. It builds you preparation for standing on top of the mountain and staying there. So I don't see this as really a setback. I see this as a natural part of the hero's journey. And I'm still overjoyed at the progress I've made. And in the next video, I'm going to share some more like less one on one talking directly like this and more walking around the different things I can do with what I've built with my studio and a little bit more in the intent and direction it's ultimately going. I primarily have, like I said, been making videos to kind of share the saga and share the journey and to show people how important things like how you talk to yourself are. The environment and the people around you, they're already going to throw you enough challenges. So you don't need to speak to yourself and about yourself inside your own head in a way that helps them tear you down. You need to have a strong, positive inner dialogue. This is the real sword, if you will, in your scabbard to stand up against and overcome the outside challenges that are going to be thrown at you, is by having a super strong inner self love, knowledge of yourself, and knowledge of your limitations. I knew I was hanging on that fine line in terms of building this, but unless you're a rich person, there's no other way to actually do what I've accomplished. You got to work. This America, artists will starve if they try to be artists only. You got to be able to stand one foot in the normie world and one foot in your creative space. And I have built that for myself. And that's kind of some of what the saga is about, is sharing that as well. But remember, people, it's really, really important how you talk to yourself. If you say, I can't, you never will. You got to tell yourself you're going to do it. You got to tell yourself you're going to overcome. You got to thank yourself for being strong. You got to thank yourself for your endurance. And you do have to be prepared for times where you maybe overextend a little. In my case, I chose to put myself in that position temporarily to get to my goal. And right as I got to my goal, and I opened the studio a week ago, boom, crisis hit. The thing that some would say is unexpected, and I will say wasn't entirely. I had it in my mind that it was a possibility, and I was prepared for that possibility. And so here I am. I'm grinding back through the medical system to get my treatment taken care of so that I can return back to work. And then I'm going to continue on the saga. As for how this saga ends, that is yet to be seen. I know the studio will not end. I don't know how the rest of it's going to turn out. I've seen all the branches, I've seen all the possibilities, and I'm prepared for all of them. I'm prepared to learn from them, and I'm prepared to take the best I can out of each scenario that ends up happening. I did have to take a break from my YouTube and from streaming temporarily while I was going through this, But largely, I've already started some of the medical stuff and I'm already feeling fine. I just need to kind of go ahead and get the control of the RA again, where I won't be in a situation where I can have a big flare again. Part of the fact that since I've already built the studio and it's functional now, the really physical, demanding part of the studio is behind me, and now I can just enjoy it. So that's definitely going to go a long ways in preventing a future flare up once I do get back in remission. But again, I was initially going to keep it private, um, but I realized, there's 800,000 people who struggle with this condition in varying degrees. Um, some are fortunate; they're not allergic to penicillin and don't have a predilection for infections like I do. So they can take the biomedicines and so forth. I can't take those. So I have to choose more natural methods and more, a little bit invasive, like going and being in the UV light box or those kind of things. Um, in my early years, I typically had just gotten steroid shots, but doing that too much can actually destroy your inner body, your organs, and it became apparent to me that it was affecting that part of my body. So I leaned into more alternative and focused on the health aspect. And that turned out to be a really smart idea because as research has advanced into RA, they've come to learn that it's a lot closer to Crohn's and it's more closely a stomach lining issue where as osmosis works, your stomach is supposed to actually prevent toxins from seeping into your body. But there are certain foods, vegetables, and the like that are not able to be prevented from seeping through the stomach lining of a person who has RA. And so my choice, and of course the issue that I couldn't take the biomedicines, actually set me up to be on a path to what its true problem is. And so I long time ago I altered my diet and I'm constantly altering it and learning new things that I shouldn't have. I will admit that part's challenging. My life is about pizza and spaghetti and I'm not supposed to have tomatoes. That's pretty hard. And I will admit that's been challenging. Um I still have them. It's just more of a once a month treat for putting it off for a month and not having it. Um I want to go ahead and wrap this up because I don't want it to end up being too long. But I do want everybody to be mindful, how you speak to yourself is a really, really big part of how you manage to accomplish the things you want. If you want something, don't tell yourself it's impossible. Don't tell yourself you can't do it because you really are setting the stage to fail. You need to tell yourself, no, I'm going to try. I'm not going to worry about the results. I'm going to try. I'm good enough to try. I'm worthy of what I want. You need to tell yourself these things. You don't need to be one of those, oh, I have this condition, feel sorry for me, and live on like that. That's so baloney. That's honestly living in that kind of mindset will age you. It will bring bad health upon you. It's just overall not a healthy way to function, living your life looking for sympathy. I'm a warrior. I don't need sympathy. I can overcome anything that's thrown at me. And that gets back to how you speak to yourself. If you tell yourself you can't, you never will. Speak good to yourself. Speak good into your life. I've always tried to connect to people, be there as an ally, and help people the best I can because I want it given back to me. You don't always get it back, but there's no reason to hold a grudge about it. I just alchemize it. But I will admit that I was at a point where I was taking on a challenge, a super challenge, something most people can't do. I knew it was going to come with complications, and I knew that it was definitely a point where the stress of being in a toxic environment, um, well, could compound things, could catch up with me. And honestly, Some people would take, "Oh man, I just opened up, then this happened. Oh, I'm defeated." No, I didn't take it that way at all. I took it as I've done everything, a challenge to overcome. I'm not afraid of challenges. I live for them. It's part of what makes an artist is problem solving, figuring out riddles, creating riddles. Um, Makes life wonderful, at least from my perspective. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stream tonight because I really do want to get back to my consistency. Um, I'll temporarily kind of be having a different stream schedule while I'm on medical leave. It's a great stress relief for me to stream and just play my favorite game and just kind of mess around. Um, I appreciate everybody that took the time to come and check this out. Yeah, I stumbled on my words, but I'm not scripting this. I'm 100% just authentically telling my story here. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm always going to be authentic because there's really no heavier baggage than having to watch your own back because you're a liar. I don't put myself in that position. I'm coming straight with it, what reality is, and who I am. And you can take it or leave it. It's not going to affect me. I just keep rolling. But I do hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I hope this helps people that are maybe dreaming but haven't gotten the courage or the inner armor that speaking positive to yourself can give you. I hope that this helps you. I hope you decide to get up and go after your dreams. They're not going to come to you. Quit waiting to win the lottery. Go get it. That's real reality. Don't be envious of those who have. You don't know what it took for them to have what they have. Worry about your own dreams. Worry about your own things. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video. I will be back to put up another part of the saga. And like I said, I'm going to show more of the actual physical studio and where it's at. Everybody have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, wonderful evening, or a wonderful morning, depending on when you hear this. I hope you manifest nothing but a wonderful day and all the things you want in your life. All right. Speedy out. Bye, guys.